I heard the bell ringing and I tried to fire off the live stream just so we could catch a little bit of those bells. Ringing 4 times, of course, because it is 4 o'clock on a Saturday, which means time for another episode of The Streets of Paris. If you're watching this on replay, as usual, just fast forward about 60 seconds or so, because I'm going to give my live viewers a chance to catch up. I can see your comments coming in, which is great. Thank you so much. Hi, Teresa, and Summer is here, and Deborah Valdez, and Carlos. Thanks. Thanks for joining me live here in Paris in the 11th Arrondissement. And I'm feeling good today. I think we're going to have a nice, fun, relaxing jaunt through this district. Hey, Lisa Chorney. I was thinking of you today. So I'll just let you all get caught up. Thank you so much for joining me. Episode 126. If you can hear me right now, which I assume you can, if you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up, but specifically leaving a comment in the YouTube comment section, I realize that it happens to really help the visibility of my videos. And it seems as simple as the videos that get a lot of comments down below get spread around a lot more to random people throughout the world that might find this interesting. So if you wouldn't mind just popping in the comments a quick thank you or hi Corey, or honestly whatever you want, a little emoji or something about the filling up the comment section in particular outside of the live chat. Seems to help the video, so I would appreciate that very, very much. Debbie Kozinski says we'll be staying near the 11th and 12th arrondissement next month, so she can't wait to see what's in store here. Hey, Elizabeth Diamond, it's great to have you. So you can see we're starting out with some vibrancy here, some color, and the kids blowing by on their trottinettes and their bikes and whatnot. Today, we almost witnessed an accident there between a scooter and a bike. So I think we can get started now. Welcome everybody. We're in the 11th arrondissement today. This is a special district. We're between Bastille and Nation, Place de la Nation, sandwiched between the two. I would call the 11th arrondissement really a sort of everyday family type of district. And it's very cultural, artistic. There's a combination of old world Paris and new world. Art, street art, and community gardens, and contemporary food, and things like that. So this is going to be really a fun mixture, I think, of old Paris, new Paris. A lot of people, if you ask them, you know, where's the hip spot where the good food is, etc., a lot of times they'll point you toward the 11th arrondissement. It also happens to be the neighborhood, the 11th, where during the French Revolution, when they stormed the Bastille, most of that angry crowd storming the fortress happened to come from these very streets. This is essentially the birthplace of the French Revolution in terms of people actually getting mobilized officially and deciding to actually do something about it. So they stormed the Bastille. Eventually, they'd storm the Palace of Versailles and drag Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI back to Paris, etc., etc. And all of that played out thanks to the events that began really here in the 11th arrondissement. So a lot of history here. We're going to talk about this church in a minute, but I am going to hop on my bike because I want to show you something just down the street, and then we'll come back through here. And I'll tell you specifically about that church. But you can see they got a nice little photography installation here of the local communities. And off we go, because we are, as usual, on the bike today. If you're watching live, I'll remind you the Super Chat feature should be available. It's a great way to help support the cause here and help me to continue this project and other projects that may come in the future. So among this rather nondescript architecture, we come across something really special. Let me just park on the side here. Just tucked away in between these two addresses, we've got a little 3-story beauty. I originally, when I saw it, I thought to myself, oh, that feels like kind of a Victorian-style home. But what it is it's rather early Art Nouveau. And we will definitely see some beautiful examples of Art Nouveau that just happened to be here. There was a big boom in the late 1800s, early 1900s in this neighborhood of the 11th. And if you're just joining live, we are in the 11th arrondissement. Lisa Chorney says, gorgeous, with a big red heart. This is 1902, specifically. And it's inspired by the kind of Art Nouveau that actually came from Belgium, because the birthplace of Art Nouveau was not Paris or even France, but it was Belgium. An artist by the name of Horta. And so this is directly inspired by the origins of Art Nouveau in Belgium. I don't know if you maybe can't make it out behind that greenery there, that bush, but there's a beautiful ornate window. This is called the Maison Chanzy, and in fact we're on the Rue Chanzy, and it's named after the original owner of this house. And he was one of the many bourgeois gents of turn of the century Belle Époque Paris, doing quite well for himself. He happened to have, Mr. Chanzy, the owner of this place, happened to have a brief but passionate love affair with an exotic dancer in Paris who everybody was talking about. Her name was Mada Hari. And turns out she, if you know that story at all, turns out she would be accused later of being a spy for the Germans during the First World War and executed by the French. Some claim that she was just a scapegoat for the French and in fact was not a spy. It's just one of those stories we may never get to the bottom of. This is called the Maison Chanzy, just so you know, because you can actually rent this as an entire house. There are 6 bedrooms. And as far as I understand on the website, you do need to rent the entire place. And there's a communal kitchen and whatnot. There's a little balcony up top on the roof there, etc., etc. I do want to zoom in on one last thing when the traffic passes by. So imagine if you and a few of your friends, you get a few other couples to go along with it, you could actually rent this entire house. Ooh, the street got very busy all of a sudden. Let me park myself just in here. I just want to point out the mail slot. If you can see this door, the Art Nouveau door, original. They didn't have a choice, or they didn't want to disturb the design of the door, so they popped the mail slot on the left there at an angle. So that's the Maison Chanzy. And now I got the task of backing myself up a little hill. Now we're going to head back this way. I'm going to tell you about that beautiful church that we saw at the beginning. Et allons-y. So that building we just admired is from 1902, and we'll see some others from that same period. We've got a beautiful square here of sorts. On the left is a big leafy park, and on the right is a playground and the church of Sainte Marguerite, Saint Margaret. And I want to give you some alternative views of the church here. Thank you. So Selena Wilson Art support in the comments says, hi from Australia, looking forward to another fab tour. Thank you so much. Sorry for the shakiness there, I'm trying to zoom in. We've got a Madonna and Child. Oh, thanks Bonnie Turbeville, I can see your support there, I really appreciate it. I'll tell you more about the church in a minute. There's a playground here that we'll scan by. And it's called the Square Raoul Nordling. And Raoul Nordling was a key figure during the Nazi occupation of Paris because, as the story goes, he was a diplomat, a Swedish diplomat, and he would go on Nordling to convince the Nazi general in Paris to not follow Hitler's orders to destroy all of Paris. So Swedish diplomat Nordling gets his name attached to this little park and this playground where the kids play every day. He was portrayed, this guy Nordling, by Orson Welles in that famous movie Is Paris Burning from the 60s. And also more recently, I think it's 2004, there was a fun movie called Diplomacy, which is sort of a more dramatized version of that exchange of Nordling trying to convince the Nazi general to not destroy all of Paris as per Hitler's orders. So back to the church, the Église Sainte Marguerite. I can show you the entrance over here. It started as a modest chapel in the 1620s and later expanded. And there was a cemetery attached here on the far side, right here where my digit is. It's no longer there, the cemetery, but it was rather infamous for having the mass graves of some 300 guillotine victims. Because remember, we're not too far here in the 11th from Place de la Bastille and Place de la Nation, both of which, at some point during the French Revolution, both had their own guillotines installed on site, and they would, of course, execute people there. It wasn't just the famous Place de la Concorde executions. So 300 victims from those nearby guillotines in the 1790s were buried in mass graves here. One of those victims, not of the guillotine, but still died at around that time, was Louis XVII, the 10-year-old son of Marie Antoinette, who died in prison. He was not guillotined, but he died in prison, and his body was buried in the cemetery and then later exhumed. Or in fact, they actually don't know if his body was ever found. There's some mystery around that. This church is also known, Sainte Marguerite, for having a surprising number of world-class paintings inside. Beautiful paintings and trompe-l'oeil, and really an overlooked gem. And for that reason, I've decided that in a future episode, perhaps even the next episode, I'm going to focus entirely on this church. We're going to go inside. It's stunning. It's quickly becoming one of my new favorite churches, St. Margaret. So more on that in a future episode. Hey, Haas Manning, it's great to have you here, buddy. Also here at the park, because I've already touched upon a couple of times the French Revolution connection here in the 11th, the city has created this new initiative to educate people about the revolution. So they've got these panels that are each about a certain event or period of the revolution. And what it is mostly to promote a new city app. You can get an app on your phone that is called that, Parcours Révolution. Don't worry, the app is in English, but you can find it and it will essentially give you a map of all the key sites and events of the revolution. So I think this is just a great example here, how they've got all the different panels. This explains what you can do with the app. 16 different walks, discovery walks. And then here they talk about little blurbs about the neighborhood of the Bastille and what the fortress was like. And of course, the storming of the Bastille, most of those people coming from these very streets. The blue-collar workers, the factory workers, what they did with pieces of the Bastille, carving it up and selling it as souvenirs and plaques and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that goes on. And I just think it's a great reminder that France and Paris in general does a very good job, I think, of reminding these people of their history, and there seems to be some interest in it, and they'll spend time and money. They'll make grand documentaries on the major TV networks, and people they still find their history interesting, and their government is still very keen on creating initiatives to help them to help that history stay alive. Coming up here on an Art Deco building. And if you follow me at all, you know I love comparing Art Deco to the Art Nouveau that preceded it. So we've got, again, the typical very austere, simple designs as a reaction to not just the Art Nouveau style, but really a reaction to the Great War. And if we just make our way over here, I can show you, not that, but just got some beautiful heads above the door. Very Art Deco in style with the subdued gestures of Art Deco. It just occurred to me just like an hour ago when I was prepping this. I've been trying to think about the difference between the Art Nouveau style and the Art Deco style that followed. And it's almost like Art Nouveau is when you boil the noodles and they're all floppy and gestural and flamboyant, but Art Deco is almost like if you don't boil the pasta. It's a little more stiff and rigid, still lovely, but it's like the unboiled version of the noodles. I don't know if that is totally weird, but that just popped in my head today. Thanks, Jay Palmer, for the support. Jay Palmer says, so appreciate the history. Thank you as always. And she is not the only Art Deco head here. Quite often where there's a woman, there's a man. And then maybe a closer look at those Art Deco pillars. I also want to share with you some street art on the opposite side. Because like I said, at the risk of repeating myself, the 11th to me is one of those neighborhoods that's a unique blend of the old stuff, which we're seeing, but also the new stuff. It's cultural, it's vibrant, there's a lot of contemporary art, street art. This is a girl wearing a mask holding a little monkey or orangutan. Some of these are very fresh, as in an hour ago when I came by, there was an artist installing this one here. It seems to say 22 and then voilà les meufs, which meuf is a slang word for women, girls. So voilà girls. This I happen to like here, if you can read that like that. And this is a new arrival too. I saw the guy attaching it just a little while ago today. I was wondering what this said here. And it's the traditional cuts of beef that you would see. Tenderloin and entrecôte and things like that, in case you were wondering. All right. Next, we got another change of pace, which I love about this area. Let me just adjust this a little bit because it's bothering me. We've got a community park here on the corner. And the door is open, so I will be able to hopefully give you a better view. You can catch glimpses of it there. It's called the Jardin Nomade, the Nomad Garden. And it was started in 2003. The city has this great initiative, citywide really, where the city will allow permits for communities that apply and wish to build not just a garden space, but a place for local meetings, hanging out with friends, having workshops, artistic workshops, literary workshops, of course, workshops based on planting and composting. And it's pretty remarkable when you think about, the city could have easily used this plot of land for another sort of development and certainly would have made money off of this plot of land. But instead, completely turned over to the community. It's not open all the time. Happens to be open today. There are some official gardeners, local gardeners here in the community, and if one of them happens to be here and they unlock it and they're present, then you're allowed to enjoy the Jardin Nomade. Let me see if I can. You'll probably recognize this pink thing from the thumbnail of the video. Je peux entrer quelques minutes? Merci, c'est gentil, merci. Oui, je garde le vélo ici. Oui, voilà. C'est très gentil, merci. Je montre à quelques amis. Juste le jardin, c'est tout. C'est gentil, merci. So they were very welcoming. They said, yeah, come on in. Comment? En portable, je suis live. Je suis en direct avec quelques amis aux États-Unis.
Hello, how are you?
Ah, there we go. They're speaking to you.
Where are you?
Oh, everywhere. New York, California, Texas, even Australia, Canada.
Hey, hi, we're in Paris.
We are in Paris, yes, that's very nice.
Bye.
It's very beautiful. Donc je monte tout le quartier et pour moi ça c'est vraiment un point fort du quartier. Donc
Oui.
je suis content d'être là. Merci beaucoup.
On fait ce qu'on mange dans le quartier.
Ah, qu'est-ce que c'est? She's showing what they eat. D'accord. Ok, merci beaucoup.
Il n'y a pas Atlanta dans vos amis?
Comment?
Atlanta, il n'y a pas Atlanta dans vos amis?
J'ai pas entendu.
Atlanta.
Atlanta, is there anyone here in Atlanta? Je sais pas, il faut que je demande.
I have very good friends in Atlanta.
Ah,
Right.
wonderful. She has friends in Atlanta and she wanted to. Oh, c'est trop bien. Bah, je vais regarder les réponses pour voir.
Hello, Atlanta.
Hello, Atlanta. Anyone in Atlanta? You're getting a personalized hello from Paris. These women are great, very friendly. So I'm just trying to give you various views. In fact, oh, this is cool because all this week when I was prepping this, I wasn't able to get inside, but on Saturday afternoons in particular, they tend to open this up. I'm sure you caught a bit of the street art there on the wall as well. But this is just really quite a little gem, isn't it? Yeah, I see some people mentioning in the comments about the friendliness of Parisians, so be very wary when someone tries to tell you about the rudeness of the French. Be very wary of those people who try to say that to you. So this is fun to enjoy, of course, a version of Paris that we don't necessarily think of right away. And like I said, a lot of workshops here. It's a place where you can come and just do community things. Painting classes, poetry classes, learn how to plant various things. And because we've got the VIP access, so to speak, I just wanted to make sure I show you everything. Okay, well, we've got plenty else to see. Oh, this is nice. Look at that. So cute. Merci beaucoup. Oui, j'ai quelques spectateurs dans Atlanta, en fait. À Atlanta. Donc, ils disent bonjour à vous. Merci beaucoup, c'est très gentil. Passez une bonne journée. Oh, a little close up here. Yeah, Debbie has a good comment. She says, charming, quiet Paris. Yeah, okay. I was hoping there was an off chance that we would get to, sorry for the squeaky bike. I was hoping that door would be open for us today, and it worked out perfectly. A couple of quick door details here. You're welcome, what's that? Laurie Dean says that was a nice little spot. Yeah, it was. Oh, sorry. This street that we're on right now, a street called Trousseau, happened to be in 1910 during that infamous flood of Paris. Happened to be completely submerged. This is one of those streets that you see in the old postcards, the old black and white photos of the flood. It would have been completely underwater in 1910. This place here, Chefs à Table. I want to talk about some of the the great eateries as well in the 11th, because nowadays if you ask someone to point you toward the best food in Paris, chances are you're going to end up somewhere in the 11th district. You really can't throw a rock around here without hitting something good. And on top of that, you've got the famous Marché d'Aligre, very famous outdoor market just steps away. So a lot of the ingredients that these great bistros are using just come from that world-class outdoor market most days. This place, if you go on Google Maps, it has 42 reviews, and after 42 reviews, it has a perfect 5-star rating. So that's saying something. I haven't been here myself, but I've looked at the images of the food, and it looks spectacular. It's got a real gourmet angle to it, but people describe it as being extremely delicious, very inventive, very surprising, a real respect for the flavors of the ingredients. People also say that the service is very, very good. So 5-star rating, chef à table. And then of course I'm always willing to throw these into the composition. Some corbels. And then we've got a hotel with fairly recent architecture, and I wanted to just try to give you a look at this very bizarre architecture. Do you see up top there these things that are sticking out? Just like there, you can see a good silhouette of it. It's just very, very odd. And it's a relatively new building. Happens to be a hotel. Thanks, Keith, for the donation, and I think I missed a shout out to Mike Slater. Thank you so much, Mike Slater. That did not go unnoticed. This happens to be an Ibis or Ibis hotel, however you pronounce that. Now, from that rather bizarre modern architecture, perhaps the highlight of the buildings today is right here. Let me get us in a spot. This is the 1890s. So this, as opposed to previously when I said there was a more subdued Belgian version of Art Nouveau, dating back to its origins, this one is unabashedly, flamboyantly Art Nouveau. So this is the doorway. And if you can see there in the bottom left, there's the door itself has some loveliness, and of course the ironwork in the windows on the ground floor. Jennifer Robinson says, ooh, delicious and sexy design. Jennifer and I like to use the same descriptors when we're talking about architecture. And then just above here, more. I think we'll stay zoomed in for this. Look at that. That is just perfection. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. Incidentally, I happen to have a very cherished book in my library at home, and it's called 100 Remarkable Facades of Paris. And I checked, and this didn't even make the cut, this building. And isn't that the best testament to just how much beauty there is? You can publish a book of the 100 most remarkable facades, and this one doesn't even show up. Look at the ironwork there. That's a nice little composition right there for us. Elizabeth says, so many details. Must have taken a long time to finish this building. Lori Dean says, I think I have a new favorite building. Yeah, me too. I have a lot of new favorites. And this almost, I almost don't want to show this after the fact because it's not as fancy, but this is much older. But still, we're not going to scoff at it. Look up top as well. It's got the, what is that, like a scallop shell motif? But yeah, 1890s goodness here on the corner. The corner of Rue de Condy and the Rue Trousseau. The door happens to be open, so you know how we do. Wow, look at the entrance. Look at that. Oh, yes. Entrance does not disappoint. It's sunflowers. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Problem is I got my bike. If there's a concierge, they're probably gonna pop out and ask me what I'm doing. This is where you grab your mail. Just underneath all that loveliness. We can't see through this next window, it's like frosted. Wow, look at this bench here. Can I zoom out at all for the bench? Might be hard to show you. So the iron bars come out of the wall. I've got a light on my bike. That might help a little bit. And then don't worry, I'll show you the floors because we've got original mosaics down below. And Mike Slater says I could come home to that every day. Absolutely. Thanks, Adriano, for the support. Says great experience as always. Appreciate that. There's my little bike in its Art Nouveau space, waiting for the next adventure. Saying, hey, Corey, where are we going to go next? Ah, excusez-moi, non, je suis en train de sortir. Oh, je vous remercie, merci beaucoup. Ooh, I really do want to get this brake disc fixed, that squeaky brake. Apologize for that. Okay, that was a bonus. All of the architecture here on this in this intersection is great. But why don't I park the bike and just show you the corner of this building that we were in. There's a little concept store in the bottom. Concept store where you can get fashionable clothing and coffee. Same sort of facade on this side. Whew. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What happened? What happened? And of course, there's always a Frye grocery store. Always, always. I do want to zip over here because the detail above this door is worth a quick little look. Oh, hold on, let me stop the bike. Okay. Also of note, I really love this rooftop all the way at the end. John Weddle has a very interesting comment. John says, curiously, It's curious with all these beautiful balconies we see, but almost never anybody on them. I have to say that is in fact a very good point. Because if you're like me, you're thinking, dear God, if I had a balcony like that, I'd be sure to use it every single day. This is a cute spot here. There's a nice little alleyway in this Middle Eastern eatery that I'll tell you about in a second. But again, corbels, very, very unique corbels up top there. Look at that. And then we've got a doorway here. Very Gothic Renaissance inspired doorway. And if we zoom out, it's funny because we've got a nearby eatery that they put out this little fencing for their outdoor tables. So it's a very incongruous combination of that old style door and the nature next to it. I want to show you also this. Slow down. Breathtaking, so good. Kelly Hicks has a great comment. She says, this neighborhood is so quirky and I love it. Yeah, quirky is not a bad word for it. It's not a bad word. Eclectic. Yeah, old style signage. I love when the signage still advertises selling coal, Schaubel. We've got these old style enamel lettering as well. So yeah, look at this adorable spot here. It's actually Kurdish cuisine. Nice little pop of color right at the end, but I'm going to show you that in a second, and then I want to not to be forgotten, not to be missed. This lovely young mademoiselle, although you're not supposed to use the word mademoiselle anymore. So this place on the corner, and look how adorable it is because they set up their colorful little tables in this alleyway. It's called Maniksi, if I'm pronouncing it right. Kurdish cuisine, Middle Eastern cuisine. Also happens to be very highly rated on Google. It's got a 4.9 rating. So I haven't personally eaten there, but it's packed every day at lunch. And you can't beat this perfect ambiance of the little alleyway and the colorful pops of the chairs and the umbrellas. Look at these beautiful, on the right side of your screen, those beautiful red flowers, pink flowers. So we're gonna go nice and slowly down the street. Oh. Some street art there too. Look at this view. Minus the car. The restaurant too, on the inside, happens to be very charming and quaint and rustic. Of course, these restaurants aren't really using the interiors too much these days. Okay, next I want to show you a nice, classy park. Still in the 11th. This is called the Square Trousseau. A little more animated. Certainly for pigeons, it's more animated. Look at this, we're gonna have to go. Sorry. Oh, oh, je m'excuse. So, where's a good place to stop? Okay, so you've got a rectangle of these beautiful buildings surrounding a park, a square called the Square Trousseau, and it's punctuated by this lovely gazebo or bandstand, whatever you want to call it. Benches, ping pong tables, a playground for the kids, and then you gotta really keep your head on a swivel because the architecture. This is a 1905 building. Get ready to do some more dreaming, balcony dreams. Lynn Sakai says, my favorite croissant place is Blé Sucré, or Blé Sucre. Is it here? Oh yeah, I see it, Blé Sucré. I see it, Lynn. I'll show it to you. If you're feeling a little bit homesick for your favorite croissant. Look at these. All the way up, the balcony ironwork. And then, lest we forget, I almost did overlook this. Shoulder workout today. It's just ridiculous. People out doing their thing. Here you go, Lynn. That's Blé Sucré. Thanks, Lynn. She says treat yourself to a croissant and a café crème, Corey. Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate that. Now, right next to this favorite spot of yours, Lynn, is something that, oh, it's a pretty dog. If you sit out in front of Lynn's favorite spot here, you'll see, let me get closer. These beautiful angels. And those aren't the only ones. Look at the horizontal line above them. It's all these little faces and vegetal motifs. Wow, that's just insane. This is another 1905 building. Which, you know, it's the time of Art Nouveau, but clearly here the architect didn't choose to go with Art Nouveau. And then if we go to the next floor, there's another variation on the theme. Oh my goodness, wow. Extra, extra delicious. Right, Jennifer? The balcony. How about this, Michael Slater? Would you mind coming home to this? Instant mood improvement is what you call this when you come home each day. Instant mood improvement. And that's your entrance. Imagine that, Lynn, if you lived at this address and you'd have your favorite croissant every day, right next door. Let me again give you a better shot of the gazebo / bandstand. This place is full at lunchtime with the workers, the office workers, grabbing lunch and hanging out here together. And then in the afternoon, of course, they're gone, and all of the kids rush in at 4:30 after school And they occupy that big, very sizable playground, if you can make it out there. Just a really lovely family-style arrondissement. Very chill, very friendly, but also very artistic, and always feels very cultural, like the cutting-edge stuff happening. This is 1907, just 2 years later than what we were looking at before. But you can see they went with a much more subdued feel. A few more things to show you. Maybe we'll do a cafe flyby here. Totally different architecture here, very modern, but I really like the courtyard. Charming in a different way. Sparse, classy. Ah, okay. Okay. Next up, a beautiful piece of street art that I want to share with you. Another doggy. Look at this balcony. Oh, wrap it, baby, wrap it. Wrap it right around. That's a fun composition, actually, where you can see. Gotta get out of the street. Elegant. Elegant, elegant. So that Marché d'Aligre, very famous outdoor market, is just right down there. We're very close to it. Okay, the street art that I wanted to share. Look at this beautiful young lady. Park the bike. If you're an art lover, you might recognize this as Botticelli's Venus, famous Renaissance era painting called The Birth of Venus, where she's standing nude on a large scallop shell. One of my favorite paintings. This is a street artist. Let me zoom in a little bit. I had to, where it says a fleur de peau, I had to Google that because I wasn't familiar with the French expression. But apparently it's used to describe something that's very sensitive or fragile, a fleur de peau. And then the handle that you can see called les murs ont des oreilles, that means the walls have ears. This is a street artist that goes by that name, I believe, and in fact, occasionally will put an ear as sort of a trademark logo. But this is, I wonder if this is intentional, where the artist, of course she's nude, but you can see just at the point where you might see her nether regions is right where the greenery starts. And it reminds me of those old, you know, the statuary and the old paintings where they put a fig leaf in front of the privates. And I don't know if that was anything intentional on the artist's part, but I like it. And then of course you can take your pick with compositions of this ironwork. Take your pick, really. I don't know. That street artist has a really likes to take famous women from the old master paintings by famous paintings, and she'll put those female characters on the streets of Paris. And you should check out her her Instagram, because she puts all of her installations on her Instagram account, and it's really fun to scroll through them. You see all these beautiful renditions of females in famous paintings. Les murs ont des oreilles. And now here, just get ready for some banging architecture once again on this side. Of course, it's the parallel side of what we already saw, but no two buildings are alike. In case you missed the door work there. Oh, look at these corbels. We never see this. It's almost like Lego pieces. Can you make that out? Looks like Legos. I highly doubt that was the architect's intent. And then look at the underside of this little protrusion. So you've got, again, the mixture of the 11th. You've got the sort of cultural family vibe, the hip and modern vibe of the park, and then it's surrounded on all sides by this very old world version of Paris. What about this, Michael Slater? Would you be happy to come home to that? I ask you, sir. God forbid any of you have the good fortune to actually move to Paris, because how could you possibly choose the neighborhood to live in and the style of apartment you want? Because there's so much good stuff. If you can afford it, you've got all the choice in the world. Nicola says, are you aware that right now there are the protests in the center of Paris? I did see some riot police setting up at Place de la Nation. I saw a little bit of a march going through Nation earlier today. But I haven't been in the center of Paris, so I'm not aware of that one in particular. But there's certainly one going on nearby at Nation. This right here, this yellow awning, is called East Mama. There is a chain, a very small collection of restaurants that all have Mama in the name, like Pink Mama, for example, in Montmartre. And they're all very, very good. So East Mama is a spot that you really can't go wrong with. And I just saw the time, so we are going to wrap things up soon. Try to keep this roughly at an hour max. I can see there are some super chats coming in, and I do appreciate it. Even if I don't give you the personalized shout out, I do see them coming up. And it's always a delight to see that. We're on the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Antoine. And right here at this intersection, you can see there's an invader mosaic there in the corner. Right at this very intersection, if we take ourselves back in time to 1752, back when religious processions of the Holy Sacrament were very common in many of these European neighborhoods. So there was a procession just going up and down the street, the Rue Trousseau that we were on previously. And apparently there was a statue of the Virgin Mary at this intersection in 1752. And as the religious procession went by, the locals claimed that the head of the statue of Mary suddenly turned toward the procession, miraculously, the stone statue. And so that was called I believe, the miracle of Sainte Marguerite, because this is the area of Sainte Marguerite, and that's the name of the church nearby as well. So that miracle happened here in the 1750s, and it really secured this neighborhood as one of the spots where pilgrims could come and meditate on and pray on that amazing miracle of the statue of Mary that turned her head. I would love to know where that statue is today. We got some great, just absolute food haven, and out to terrace haven. Okay, just a few more things to wrap up here. It's called the Passage Saint-Bernard, or the Saint Bernard Passage. If we pull a Yui here, have these nice quiet moments of greenery. You know, the locals, this wasn't naturally here, this green. They obviously decided at some point to bring out these pots and to bring a bit of garden to the Passage. Thanks to Heather Moffat, who says, your tours each Saturday are such a treat. Thank you for your dedication to sharing Paris with us all. Thank you. Pam Moore, thanks so much. She says, as always, a treat. Thank you. Laura Mirles, thanks a lot. She says, as always, Corey, you're a fantastic history teacher. Oh, I appreciate that. See you next October for our tour. Dottie Brown, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Wow, everyone's being so generous today. Lisa Chorney, merci, Corey. She says, Square Trousseau holds a lot of nostalgia for me. Oh, that's great, Lisa. I didn't know that because I know that, you know, I always work under the assumption that things are relatively new to people, but I love it when people tell me that there's something they actually know and they feel a connection to. That's even more fun. Thank you, Bob Purse, for your generosity. Bob says, thank you, Corey, for showing us the 11th. We were even more excited to stay there next September. Yeah, get ready to eat your way through this district, Bob. Speaking of greenery, this is a modern building, but with a, what do they call this, a suspended garden? And then in front of us, we've got an elevated set of tennis courts and a sort of community sports center up there. I want to show you a very fun, speaking of eateries, the place is fun. I don't want to, it's going to be hard for me to show you. It's going to be hard to show you. Hold on. I think it's closed, so it's dark inside. But I'm determined to give you, and it seems like there's a worker in there enjoying her late lunch or early dinner. But I do want to, without bothering her, just show you. Bonjour. This is actually that worker. She might be the owner. She let me inside of this place earlier. She's very friendly. Do you see this place? It's called Mamie Bidoche. And it's charming enough inside. Sorry, you're actually seeing the reflection. So it's going to be hard for you to see. It's going to be hard for me to show you the interiors. You have to take my word for it. It's very charming, and you can see the idea of these beautiful antique style lampshades everywhere in the dining area. But then, of course, as you've already seen, this is the great quirk of this place. It's called Mamie Bidoche. And it's just decor. Just the decor. Here, I can show you the outdoor seating. I'll give you an idea of the style. Of course, Mamie, the name of the place, meaning grandma. So it has an antique old sort of tea room type of vibe, like a British tea room feel. I'll show you the name for those who are interested. Okay. While we're at it, last couple of things. This here is West African food called la banane ivoirienne, Ivory Coast. And if we zoom in on the, you can see this beautiful. The bells are ringing. We started this episode with the bells ringing 4 o'clock, and now they're ringing 5 o'clock. So it's time for me to wrap up. But this is carved wood. This is a legit relief. And then to finish, the name of this street is called the Rue de la Forge Royale, or the street of the Royal Foundry, where the blacksmiths were pounding away. I guess it must have been on this street. Let me end with that. I'll show you the name of the street. To think that it's long gone now, but during the time of the monarchy, this would have been the street where the foundry was, the Royal Forge. They were probably making everything from medallions to swords to horseshoes to all kinds of stuff. But it's long gone, the Royal Foundry. Right now we just have this. So thanks everybody. That's the 11th Arrondissement as I see it today. A great mix of all kinds of wonderful stuff, and I hope you enjoyed it. Keep in mind you can support me in many different ways. You could fire off a super chat right now before we sign off. And of course, my Patreon link is down in the description, as is my PayPal info if you want to support via PayPal. And my merch store is still there too. Or you can simply go down, click the thumbs up, leave a comment, an actual comment in the comments section, saying any random thing, but it'll actually help me a lot, because for some reason YouTube it's the only way that they'll send my video out to people. Okay, signing off from the 11th. I hope you have a lovely day. If anybody wants to join me privately for a little tour extension on my bike as I ride home, go ahead and pop over into our Facebook group. My Patreon supporters can do that right now. Give me about 5 minutes and we'll continue the adventure, as it were. Thanks everybody. This was a great turnout and very, very generous, all the people who chose to support me today. And you're all supporting me just by watching this, just by choosing to put your eyeballs on this video when there are literally 600 million other things on the internet. And that does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see some of you in a few minutes privately over on Facebook. Au revoir, ciao.